How hard is it to survive in America?
Right now I sleep in a tent. I'm 62 years old, and I'm too old for this.
I think you'd have to make at least $100,000 to live an actual full life and live on your own.
I can walk in a cloud of privilege. I know that.
And what percentage of people here do you think are on food stamps?
Almost everybody. Can't nobody make it out here alone.
At least 85% of the population in West Virginia.
How hard is it to survive in America? For example, did you know that 50% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck? Oftentimes, it feels like we live in a fantasy world due to social media, as everyone posts the highlight reels of life without ever posting the struggle. Meanwhile, homelessness in America has increased by a record number of 18% in the past year, and another 63% of Americans don't have enough money in savings to cover a $500 emergency. And with the cost of rents and homes going up much more rapidly than the wage increases here in America, how are Americans able to survive? And so I'm curious, we're going to be investigating this issue in two locations. One here in Seattle, Washington, where the average cost of living is 50% higher than the national average, and also in West Virginia, where the average cost of living is much lower compared to many other places. So we're going to see if in the ultra rich and in the other places where it is not as rich, if Americans are having the same issues, whether it be cost of living, drugs, homelessness, all of the above, to see how hard is it to actually survive here in America. The first set of conversations begin in the Seattle area, and later in this video we go to West Virginia. How hard is it to survive in America?
Incredibly difficult, yeah, these days.
How hard is it for you to live here in America?
For me personally, it isn't hard because I'm very well off. I am aware that for most people it is much harder. I know that I can walk in a cloud of privilege. I know that.
What would you say are your biggest challenges as far as staying above water with all the bills that we have between health insurance, taxes, phone bills, water, electricity?
Yeah.
How do you stay afloat?
Just by the barely. I mean, I work part-time. I'm in school right now, and I'm just scraping by. I'm getting ready to actually move out of my apartment and, continue on a wing and a prayer for a minute. I don't know what that's going to look like, but, my apartment is trashed. They don't care about it. It feels like they make everything, very difficult on top of, moving people in that were either formerly homeless or I don't know. But our building's trashed. The city's trashed. And I'm not going to buy into it anymore. So if I have to live out of my car for a few months, and work full time after I get out of school, that's what I'm going to do. And I don't know what's going to happen after that.
And what did you do to be able to make it where you can walk in so much privilege, you say?
I married a man at age 21, but I knew that he was going to do well. I just knew it, and I knew I could help him to do well.
So you're living in a rent-controlled apartment, but now you are moving out to move in your car to save money.
Yeah, I don't want to continue living in a place that it's not worth paying that much rent for, even though it's a little bit lower than, a place that's not rent-controlled, right?
And how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I just turned 50.
That lady is 50 years old, and she is moving out of her apartment that costs $1,500 and now moving into her car. That just shows you that very many Americans are just a few paychecks away from going homeless. So obviously you're living in the upper echelons of the United States.
Yeah, we're not the 1%, probably not the 2%, but we're probably the 3%, I think.
Mm-hmm. How hard is it to financially survive here in America?
In America, it's hard. If you have kids and I work a 9 to 5, so it's hard.
And do you have sympathy for people that are your same age that are still struggling day to day?
Yes,
or do you think
it's
a product of just not figuring out?
Oh no, it's not the product of not figuring out. It's a product. It's a product of the system. It's a product of the system that I have benefited from. It is capitalism.
Do you feel like you get taxed to the extreme here in Seattle and just in America in general?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And can you explain some of the taxes that you have to pay?
We get taxed on everything. Everything.
Do you think that's right that the government can tax us on quite literally everything?
No.
Our business was supposed to make it all easier in healthcare, especially. Basically, a lot of our money was through HIPAA. And HIPAA, HIPAA when you go to the doctor and you sign a thing, it was supposed to make it a lot cheaper. And it never got passed on. And that's the insurance companies, because that's fixed. And it's the insurance companies that benefit.
We make $1, we pay state income tax, federal tax. That bottle you just bought, that tea right there, you got taxed on that. Those headphones you got taxed on that. And that same company is also going to get taxed on that same dollar you just gave them.
That's a fact. That's a good question. That's a fact.
And so how much tax is too much tax?
That's a good question.
Do you think it's right that the government can just pass a bill and raise taxes without receiving any votes from the American people?
No, I don't think it's right. No, not at all.
So do you think overall the systems are against the majority of that 97% of the people?
Yes, and you said systems. It's the system. It's hypocritical of me to say that. I know it. And, we give money, not enough, but we give money to the needy. But the needy is most people.
And just in contrast from that lady we were just talking to on that corner, now here on the corner, you have other people that are needing money. And that just goes to show how big of a contrast there is here in the United States. You have millionaires as well as people that are needy here on the streets, everywhere across America. In inflation, would you consider inflation a hidden tax that everybody has to pay?
In Washington is crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. I just got a raise at my job. I work at Nordstrom right here. So since I got a raise, I guarantee you that everything now is going to be higher per year. So per year, I guarantee you it probably goes up a good $1.50 for every dollar you spend.
So essentially you're making an extra $1, but you're getting charged an extra $1.50.
Exactly. Yes, sir. Well, how does that make sense? Like, I get a raise, but it's not really a raise because it's inflation. You know what I mean? So.
And here in Seattle, you guys have one of the highest minimum wages. It's around $21. Meanwhile, a lot of businesses are going out of business.
That's a fact.
Seattle did in fact raise their minimum wage to $20.76 per hour on January 1st of this year, and already multiple long-standing businesses in the Seattle area have had to close because they can't afford to stay open. How much does somebody need to be making a month to live well here?
I would probably say you probably need to be making about $200,000 a year to live well in Seattle with a family.
And how much does somebody need to make on a monthly basis just to get by and be able to pay for their rent, car insurance, everything like that?
I think you'd have to make at least $100,000 to live an actual full life and live on your own and be able to pay all your bills.
What do you do for work?
I'm head of HR.
Do you think prices will ever go back down, or do you think prices are just going to keep going back up?
Well, with Trump elected, I don't have much hope, just with inflation and everything that's going to come with his election. That's my personal political opinion.
How do people afford to live here inside Seattle?
I do not know.
You cannot live here.
And why so?
Seattle is not affordable. We are homeless. I used to work as a meat cutter. I made good money, but I still couldn't afford a place to live.
Do you think Trump will do less for inflation than Joe Biden did, or do you think he'll do more?
I think he's going to ruin the economy, to be quite frank.
And what's the main struggle you guys are facing trying to get home, trying to get housings, trying to get jobs to be able to afford to live here?
It's bullshit. You don't get housing. You have Catholic Community Services. They do nothing. You have SHARE. They do nothing. You have all these housing people, and they do nothing. They leave you out there. Right now, I sleep in a tent. I'm 62 years old, and I'm too old for this. I'm gonna tell you, and this is my husband, and we lost our house because his mom got really sick, and we had to sell the house. And we put everything in a trust for her to be in a rehabilitation center. That's how we became homeless.
Do you see any future here in America with how expensive things are becoming and how unaffordable it can be for a lot of people?
I've lived in a lot of foreign countries. I've lived in Russia. I lived in Finland. I live in Australia. Show me how to get back there. I mean, because everybody's coming to our country and they all get everything they need, but the people that were born here aren't getting it.
Drugs are running through America rapidly right now, especially fentanyl.
It's rampant.
How would you say that's affecting the homeless population across America?
Extremely. I would say extremely. Fentanyl took his cousin. Why carry a gun? Use fentanyl. You know, when I was in cardiology in the hospital and they go, we're going to give you fentanyl, I sat straight up in bed and I said, I don't think so. It scared me. It's an elephant tranquilizer.
Homeless population across America has risen by 18%. Fentanyl has also risen. Overdoses have risen significantly here across America. You think homelessness correlates with the fentanyl crisis and the drug epidemic?
I do. I honestly believe that.
And did both of you guys graduate high school?
Yeah. College.
Homelessness or just poverty could just touch anybody.
Anybody.
Any time, and it'll do it in a heartbeat.
And then when the drugs get them, it breaks my heart.
And if you would like to be able to afford a home in the Seattle area, you're going to be looking anywhere between $800,000 for a 15 square foot home or $8 million for almost 4,000 square foot home. And gas here in Seattle right now is $4.49. And after speaking with the people in Seattle, it is time to go to West Virginia and get ready to listen to some more in-depth conversations as to how hard it is to survive on the complete opposite side of the country. I made it to West Virginia, which is one of the poorest, most poverty-stricken state in America, as nearly 17% of the homes here are living in poverty, and it has one of the lowest GDPs per capita at just nearly $57,000. It's going to give a complete perspective as to how hard it is to survive in America as we compare one of the most wealthy states to one of the poorest states in America. And also an interesting fact about West Virginia is that it is the only state in all of America that has a lower population than it did in the 1970s. That means the population is declining. People are having less babies than people that are dying, if that makes any sense. And when we were talking about the financial situation of Americans, something that sets thousands of Americans back every year is data breaches. Every year the number is increasing, and it takes just a second to crack the most popular password, 123456. And that's why I'm teaming up with NordPass, the solution not just for individuals, but for businesses as well. From the creators of NordVPN, NordPass is designed to be your go-to password manager. It will store your password securely and enhance you and your business security on the internet. With NordPass, you get advanced security. They have the latest encryption technology. It ensures your data is going to be protected, keeping your passwords safe and secure. And as a business, you will get a secure sharing of credentials between employees. In place of using sticky notes or text messages, employees can be granted different access to each credential. Access to a credential can then be shared temporarily or be revoked at any time. You can save your passwords with a click, log into your accounts automatically, and sync your passwords across all of your devices. NordPass will even help you generate strong passwords. Imagine never having to worry about forgotten passwords or security breaches because NordPass flags any leaked credentials on the dark web. They have a zero-knowledge architecture, which means that nobody can see your passwords, not even NordPass themselves. And here is the deal for you and your business. Use the code NICK at nordpass.com/NICK to get a free 3-month trial of NordPass Business. No credit card is required. So what are you guys waiting for? It is a free 3 months of NordPass Business. Like I said, no credit card is required. And now let's go talk to the people here in West Virginia. How hard is it to survive here in West Virginia?
Well, if you don't know how to panhandle or jack of all trades, master of none, it's pretty hard.
What do you guys currently do for work?
I do all kinds of stuff, landscaping, roofing, mulching, jack of all trades, master of none.
What's a good income here in West Virginia?
The racetrack.
Yeah, pretty much around here in West Virginia is Charlestown Racetrack.
The gas station.
Yeah, and
so if you get a job at the casino or at one of the gas stations, that's a good job here.
Yeah, Walmart, Home Depot, Wise, yeah, the grocery stores.
Yeah.
What kind of education do you guys have?
I dropped out.
I graduated, but here in West Virginia, they ain't teach me nothing. I'm one of them kids where they just pass you through, just, you know what I'm saying?
No child left behind.
Yeah, no child left behind, so they ain't teach me shit in school. I learned most of my stuff out on the street.
And were you guys given the option for college, or was college ever a possibility for you guys?
Nah, man, I ain't never had no college in my life.
You guys regret not going to college?
No, I'm happy. I enjoy life, man. I'm not stressed out like most people are, you know.
What's a good salary here in West Virginia?
I would say anywhere between like maybe 50
50 to 60. 50 to 60 will get you living pretty nice around here, actually.
And how much can somebody buy a home here for?
We bought ours for about, if I remember correctly, somewhere between $350K. Yeah, and you can actually buy a pretty damn good house for about $350K.
And in this part of West Virginia, you can buy a home for double the size at half the price compared to Seattle. And the gas is also a lot cheaper, about $1.50 cheaper. And what industries fuel the economy here in this part of West Virginia?
Mostly farming around here still. I mean, it's changing quickly because of all the houses that are being put in, but it's still pretty much country here.
Did you know that West Virginia is the only state since the 1970s that has had a decrease in population?
Yes, because other parts of the state, their main industry is coal. And with being so many more restrictions that have been put in place by the Democrats as far as coal mining, the coal mines have been going out of business. And so those people, they got to eat. So they end up leaving the coal towns and they go to other parts of the country where they can make a living.
So do you think the government is responsible for West Virginia having one of the lowest GDPs per capita, as they did take away the coal mining here?
Definitely, as far as the coal mining goes, yes.
How hard is it to survive financially here in this part of America?
For me, it's not hard at all. I got a job, so if you work and you work hard, it's not hard at all.
So do you think a lot of people that are financially burdened, do you think it is due to their lack of work ethic or the jobs?
For some places, the opportunity ain't there for others. You know what I mean? Honestly, living in this world, honestly, like the racist stuff still exists. The whole who you know, all that stuff still exists. But to be honest, you just can't let it stop you. I think you can still move forward in your life. You know what I mean? I don't like to play the blaming game.
And what are some keys to staying financially well here in this part of America?
Living your means, to be honest. A lot of people watch too much TV and think they gotta live this way, but I think honestly, if you really focus on what you really gotta do, then you can afford it. A lot of people live out their means, so they can't really afford it. They spend their money on dumb stuff. They try to live to, like, I guess, quote the code, the street code or whatever, so they spending money on clothes they can't even afford. You know what I mean? It's just, honestly, I think it's pretty much people live their own lives. Stop trying to think you can live somebody else's life. You don't even know how that person got to there.
You bring up a good point, because debt, for instance, like credit card debt, I think it's at the highest it's ever been in history, as people are just trying to live to fit in, almost.
It was just stupid to me. And, you know, with everything going up, that make it even harder for you. You feel what I'm saying? So, I don't know. People live in their means. People decide to work, keep your job. I mean, you eventually move up. You know what I mean? You eventually get more money, then you can eventually elevate your life.
And how hard is it to survive here financially?
It's a struggle for most. I mean, we don't struggle like that, but I mean, we struggle. You know, everybody goes through the struggle. It's pretty hard in this area.
What's a good income here?
If you're making $16 an hour, you lucky.
Yeah, you're lucky to make $16 to $18 an hour.
Really? So if you're making $16 to $18 an hour, you can live pretty well here?
If you have a second job.
If you got a two income household, you know what I mean? One person can't do it on their own, not at that type of money.
You gotta be on some kind of welfare, food stamps, something to help out.
And what percentage of people here do you think are on food stamps or on some sort of government beneficiary plan?
Almost everybody. Can't nobody make it out here alone.
If I had to put it in percentage, I guarantee at least 85% of the population in West Virginia, especially in this area.
Really? Do you mind me asking, are you guys on government plans or anything like that?
We have food stamps.
Yep.
And so how much does the government give you guys a month?
Enough to barely survive, put it that way. So not very much.
And do you think the government is somewhat responsible for instance, the state of West Virginia, where they got rid of coal mining and they put higher restrictions on that, which was one of the main...
Absolutely.
Why do you think the government does things like that?
Because it's all greed. It's all about money. You know, all the politicians, all they care is about lining their pockets with money instead of helping the people in the community that need it. That's why just right down here, you can see a homeless person standing right there with a sign. Like, it's ridiculous. They rather line their own pockets than to put it out there to the community that actually deserves the help.
And a lot of people can't work either because they have child care, the schools, jobs don't want to work with you, daycares are triple what your paychecks are, so if you stay home raising your kids, you save about $3,000 a month, but at the same time, everyone's like, oh, go get a job. You get a job and you never see your kids, and then everyone's telling you you're a piece of crap parent because you're working. It's a never-ending system. It's almost impossible.
Do you think education plays into this at all? Like whether or not you get a college degree or graduate from college or graduate from high school?
Not really, because college nowadays is everybody's got these jobs or goes to college to get these immaculate jobs, and then you're stuck paying student loans and student debt the rest of your life. I mean, in my opinion, trade schools is where it's at. If you go to a trade school, a lot of them help you get a job out of trade school. So I mean, trade schools do help, but people spending all this money, oh, I'm going to college, I'm going to Harvard, this and that. Yeah, you're going to fucking pay student loans for the rest of your life just for a job that you can still barely make it off of, depending on which area of the country you live in.
Yeah. How is it living out here in West Virginia?
Well, it's casual, it's rural, it's easy.
Would you say West Virginia is a safe haven for people that want to escape the cities and live that rural lifestyle?
Well, there's no question that West Virginia is rural and has all the different elements of that. And this is kind of on the edge of civilization, I call it.
Would you say you'd be able to live a pretty good lifestyle here, making $50,000 a year?
You definitely could survive here with that. It's getting more and more difficult money-wise anywhere. West Virginia operates on county-wide personal property taxes, and they can hit you depending on what's needed.
Do you think we as Americans get taxed too much?
I think we're taxed wrong. Too much, I don't think we are, in a sense. There's no question that the federal government is overspending and spending on things that they shouldn't be.
I then left the city center and tried to go to speak to people out in the more rural parts of West Virginia, and I was having a really hard time finding anybody to speak with as I drove through these neighborhoods. These are what they look like. However, I did eventually find some people to speak with. So I've been looking for hours now just to find somebody that's out on the streets talking to. It is extremely cold right now, so there's all these churches, and I'm trying to speak to a local pastor because I figure if he's somebody who has a congregation, he probably knows a lot about what's going on here with a lot of people as far as financial situation goes and the struggles they face here on the daily. So we're gonna see if we can find the pastor of one of these churches and talk to him. How you doing, sir? Are you the pastor here?
No.
I was going church to church trying to find a pastor to speak with or somebody to speak with, and I came and knocked on this guy's door to see if he was the pastor himself. He's not. However, how long have you been living here, sir?
It's been about 13 years.
What are some of the economic hardships a lot of people here face in West Virginia in general?
Well, you've got the southwestern West Virginia coal fields, where, coal used to be the predominant economy and it's going out. So, there's not really an economy to replace it. And there's a lot of hardship there. This county here in particular, like I said, like I was telling you, is has been not necessarily an economically distressed area compared to the rest of the state.
In this part of West Virginia, what's a good wage somebody needs to be making to survive and live well here?
Shoot, I'd say, $50 an hour or something, We have a new a factory that moved into the area, and we fought it because we don't want this area to be industrialized, but they pay $32,000 a year, which is almost nothing, So their claim was that they're going to build their factory and it would create jobs, and they created a few very low-paying jobs. At $32,000 a year, they probably have to, apply for, medical assistance and food stamps and so forth, to try to get by. I mean, just you have to do the math, think all the things you need if you got a couple kids and need a car and rent a house and so forth.
At that point, you're already stretched probably at least $2,000 just on the month just to be able to pay for your bills. And so by that point, you have $24,000 spent, then you have another $11,000 that will also get taxed and whatnot.
That's right. It's hard to get by. What I'm hearing from young people is that they can't afford, even if they have a half-decent job, they're not going to be able to afford to buy a house because oligarchs or whatever, they're buying, like Bill Gates is buying up the farmland out west and they're buying up housing. where making it unaffordable for young people, to buy a house because they have the cash. It almost seems like they're trying to eliminate the middle class and have just a world where everybody rents their house and the whole American dream is sort of a thing of the past.
And for people like me that are younger in their 20s, do you think we should be hopeful for the future of America and be able to pursue the American dream as far as being able to buy a home and start a family?
I got a pretty negative outlook about it all. I mean, you have what I would call anarcho-predatory capitalism, is the operating principle here in this country, and it's ruthless. Be informed and organize and be persistent and understand, have direction as far as what kind of goals you want to achieve, and be involved. And you're going to have to make the change for yourselves. Mm-hmm. And it might require some pretty drastic action.
And that is the end of this video. If you enjoyed, please consider subscribing and giving a like to this video. And if you'd like to support the channel by becoming a member, you get access to exclusive live streams and extra content as well. This is Nick, and I will see you next video.